later on that have registered and not been able to join for whatever reason.
Sure. Trying to make sure I get the format right, but she told me to show the chat on the side. Oh, sorry.
I can't hear you, Tony. Are you saying something?
I was trying to make sure that I had the format set up.
Okay. Okay.
Chat.
Just started the recording.
Sophie, yeah, you can kick it off, Sophie.
Okay, so we just started now with the recording. Well, so thank you for coming tonight. Hello, everyone. I'm just gonna give you like a couple of things about the technical side of it. So we ask everybody to stay muted during the presentation, so we don't have any background sounds or any screaming or anything that could distract our speaker. Also, you can ask any questions you want on the chat box. You can find it at the bottom of your screen. You just, make sure that you tap to everyone so everybody can see your questions, and we will make sure that Tony get all the questions you are asking during the presentation, but also after. We will give you about 15 to 20 minutes for a Q&A, so Tony will be able to answer any of the questions then.
Thank you for calling the original Chop Shop. For the Shops of Lexi, how can I help you?
Yeah, I have a pickup for Sunny, please, on curbside.
Sunny.
Alrighty, Sunny. Which car are you in?
It's a dark blue Mercedes SUV.
Sophie, I think you can mute
Sunny,
him.
yeah, I'll give you my address. You can have it delivered here also, Sunny.
Yes, Sonny, I need some of that food also.
Right, thank you, Sunny, for illustrating what I was saying.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I didn't know. I had my phone on mute. I apologize.
Yeah, you made me hungry in Los Angeles.
He just
My apologies.
No problem. All right. Go ahead, Sophie.
All right, so I will leave now Ram explaining more.
Okay, thank you.
Oops, sorry.
All right, folks, I know several of you on the line, and there'll be more joining, and as they come in, Sophie will be letting them into the meeting. For those of you that are not familiar with TiE, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to tell you all about us. My name is Ram Viswanathan. I'm the president of TiE Dallas. As an organization, TiE is entirely devoted to entrepreneurship in all its shapes and sizes. And through its variety of different programs, you can click play, Sophie, I think, or you can just click, yeah, it'll go to the next one. Or, yeah, that. So, okay, just stay there. It's an organization that started more than 25 years ago in the Silicon Valley, and entirely devoted to entrepreneurship across industries. Started in technology, but has now penetrated various different industries. We have a number of different initiatives that all foster entrepreneurship through mentoring, networking, educational programs, funding especially, and then incubating startups through these initiatives. So Dallas in particular, we have, in this year has been very interesting across the board. As you all know, we went virtual with all our programs. We've had 18 events throughout the year, give or take. Every fourth Tuesday of the month, we have the so-called TiE Tuesday, which this is one off. And we have invariably folks coming and pitching their particular startups, and having this be an opportunity to get feedback from different people in the meeting. And the organization itself is made up of two broad groups: serial entrepreneurs, businessmen, women that have built businesses that are now at the stage where they want to give back. They want to engage with the startups in various different roles, mentoring them, coaching them, funding them, and so on. And then there is another group of folks that are in the stages in the stage where they are launching a business and want to receive that kind of mentorship. So it's kind of a nice platform to bring these two groups together. We have had events around venture financing, There's a lot of global events that are conducted by the global organization under various chapters around the world. So we had events with that theme. We have had a youth panel. We launched a women entrepreneurship initiative, and had a women's pitch competition with about 10, I think 10 odd women entrepreneurs, business women coming and pitching to us. And then the winner from that event is going to be representing Dallas at the Dubai World Women competition next month. So we've had a variety of different programs, events, and all this is encapsulated into a number of different programs. And here is a list of these different programs. I talked about this a little earlier. The pitch pitch events like this funnel into our ventures initiative, which curates these startup companies, and then allows our membership to take interest in specific startups and participate in them offline in groups or individually or in groups. We also tie back into the Global Angels program, TiE Women's program I talked about earlier. The Young Entrepreneur program is ideally really catered towards high schoolers. We started way back in 2000, what is now about 12, 13, around that time frame. We've gone through 8 years of that program now. Every year through a 3-4 month period, we take high school kids, about 25, 30 of them, through a structured program of ideation, selling, prototyping, building, and then pitching to a group of investors. So it's been a very successful program for us. Every year, our team goes to global and bags some interesting prizes at the global stage. So there is that initiative. And then we have special events addressing diversity, inclusion, specific industry opportunities in travel, in financial industry, retail, and so on and so forth. So all this promotes the overall objective of entrepreneurship. So I encourage you to go take a look at dallas.tie.org, learn more about the organization. If you're not already a member, become involved. I can assure you the benefits and the relationships you form will be very valuable. You'll benefit greatly, immensely. With all that said, I want to welcome again Tony for tonight's presentation. He has a very, very cool idea, business, product. And when I talked to him last time, I was just blown away by the kind of things that are possible in mixed reality. And I was particular interest in that area myself with some of the things we are doing in my businesses here in home improvement, visualization, construction, and so on. So he is doing this in the education sector. So very, very happy to have him. And we're going to be learning a lot from what he has to tell us. And so take it away, Tony. You have more than 40 minutes, 30 minutes or 40 minutes to go through your pitch, and then we'll open up the floor for Q&A, and we'll take it from there. Thanks again, Tony.
Sure.
And everybody else, thanks for participating. We'll reserve questions until Tony finishes, and then we'll open up the floor for questions.
Let me share my screen. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Tony Scallion. I'm the CEO of REDHOUSE Virtual Education, and we're creating immersive, engaging mixed reality experiences for education users. So I'm Dr. Tony Scallion, founder and CEO of REDHOUSE. We are a Microsoft for startup, a Microsoft for education enterprise partner, and we're happy to say that we are in the Microsoft marketplace here recently. We founded in 2017. We are a Frisco-based, full managed service and software SaaS model-based enterprise customized platform company with a vast amount of technology that we integrate into a platform to bring you a powerful labs. That is what REDHOUSE's solution is offering. So we talk about education, and Red House is founded on equity and equality and the outcomes of and empowerment around classrooms. So we always ask the question, what matters in your classroom is important. And that's why we founded Red House, is what matters in the classroom. What is it that you would like to see that comes out of classroom? We talk about collaboration, we talk about the learning culture, and we talk about a disruptive environment to education today. And with the case of Corona, this gives a valid point to what Red House is doing in education. So the problems that we face today in education is we face the shutdowns of schools and the public health and economic crisis of students. We talk about the helping the public education prepare for the course of this pandemic when it comes to education. And our children's academic performance is deteriorating during this pandemic. So that is a study that even Dallas ISD has done in our area about the fact that the deterioration of online learning is happening right now when it comes to what's going on in this pandemic, and that's happening nationwide. So Learning Made Easy is what Red House is bringing to you, a clear visual interface that provides an intuitive e-learning experience, learning for teaching all backgrounds. Accessible e-learning courses anywhere. So providing learning with ability to learn around the lifestyles and effectiveness, allowing every busiest person to further careers and gain new qualifications. We're a team-based learning platform. So Teams is integrated into Red House's solution. So being a Microsoft product, we look at how we integrate a diversity of collaborative tools, and Teams was one of our top tools that we chose to integrate. Our courses that we build inside our Central Vision platform are self-paced. So you can do self-paced, teacher-paced, all based around project-based learning. And that's what the sweet thing about Central Vision tool is. So immersive studies in a new reality. So we have integrated what we call our X Viewer, where now students can interact with 3D content in a virtual environment right inside of a platform. This gives them really engaging type of content that they can search for, and teachers can add to their classroom lessons. Red House Virtual Education has a vast variety of tools, and we look at the customer base and customer stories that we have. So the customers that we have right now, we have Meharry College, where we developed a medical application that transcends the environment of dentistry. So we can offer that to students nationwide. And then we also have Southern Law Center, where they have built a number of different platform solutions with Southern Law Center this year, from a gaming institute to a distance learning platform to where they actually do their CLEs, which is their studies with lawyers. So we talk about Red House and we talk about mixed reality, and I'm gonna pause right here. Mixed reality is a true solution that is needed in the lower economic school districts to broaden how students learn. Mixed reality is how we mix our augmented reality or a device or anything into a real world. So that's how you mix your content into the world. So when building mixed reality applications, how we thought of it in Red House is, it is the gap between bridging technology and equality. So when we can actually offer solutions to schools at half the cost, from whether it's a cybersecurity application to a medical application to a HVAC career skill where students can actually work in their own environment, that cuts half the cost. And even now with the pandemic, where if you have a student that has aviation, you can't even go to the airport to work with those professionals in aviation, but we can bring that engine right in your space where students can work with their space. So that's how we look at what's called mixed reality. So mixed reality is students are able to share their experiences. And this is what we're really growing to. How do students share their experiences in real time using the HoloLens? Our environment that we are developing is an all agnostic environment. You can use all devices and all digital devices in that environment, from the HoloLens to the Oculus to a desktop viewer, so students can all share this experience, not just in the classroom, that they can share it remotely everywhere. The market of mixed reality in education in 2018 was $1.6 billion. Today's market, as it moves up in K-12, is $6.3 billion, and up to 2014, and the global market will be $1.3 billion. The global market works for Red House because now we are launching in Mexico, and we are launched in Brazil as of a couple of weeks ago. We'll be launching in Mexico with one of our partners. So we see these as major markets that we can be in to match the percentages that we're looking at as we grow Red House. Our ask that we're seeking right now is a $4 million round to help us with growing this product and doing some other things in our development and our R&D and how we'll grow our next stage of Red House's product line, which is our managed services with our platform, which is also our mixed reality environment that will be virtually everywhere in the United States. One of our biggest clients, K-12 Education, is looking at putting this in 60 locations throughout the United States and in multiple schools in their network. The partners that we have are my partner, my CTO, Marquez White. He's worked in schools and he worked in data and medical, front end and back end, full stack developer. Stephen Roth is our CLO and our COO also. He's operations, and he gives us great advice on how we will scale our product and how we'll grow as Red House grows the company here locally and nationwide. So if you need information about Red House, come and visit our platform, redhouseve243.com. We're now opening up to bringing in educators into Red House so that we will start this ecosystem of educators building content for students nationwide, here locally in Dallas, Texas, Frisco, Texas, and all the areas of Texas. We have some big clients that we're talking to right now on how we will broaden the solution out throughout Texas and the United States. Questions?
Tony, were you going to do a little demo like we discussed, looked at the other day, or that was not on the part of the plan?
No, I didn't set up the demo for today as far as the showing mixed reality, showing the development of mixed reality. No, I didn't.
Okay. Okay.
I think we have a question in the chat though.
Yeah, Satyajit, it's now open floor, folks. Feel free to start shooting questions and have Tony address them. Satyajit, you had a question, go ahead.
So the platform we're using for our mixed reality environment development, we use Unity. We build our solution on, but we're actually focused on what we're doing right now is our mixed reality environment will be an all agnostic environment that we're building. So you'll see that in 2021 and how we'll have simulated technology built into that environment. One of our first keys that we're focusing on is the medical environment and how we will push the medical applications out to schools, universities, and schools here locally.
We have two more questions from Daryl. Oh, go ahead.
One of the coolest applications that we have right now that we showed, and it was on NBC5, was our music application that we developed for a group called STEM Bella. They had a concept of bringing music to the classroom, and also I think we really enjoyed one of the applications that we developed for them where they had a concept around makeup. But we're broadening out their design when it comes to the music, the keyboard, and how it really touches students that are in music and music classrooms.
What is the initial target market? I'm just speaking for the sake of the video so everybody can hear.
I'm perfectly fine. I think if they want to open up their mics and talk, I think this should be okay. I think it allows for some interaction also. It's a small enough group. I don't think there'll be too much disruption, and feel free to.
So our initial target market is schools, charter, private, public schools, and universities. So we really focused on, we kind of focused on historical Black colleges. That was really one of our markets that we saw that had a big disadvantage of not having the right tools. One of our partners is actually online that we're working with right now and building a distance learning platform for one of our clients right now. So we really focused on that market as being one of our key players, and it's really working for us right now. And then also we focused on the market of disadvantaged school districts. So we've been talking and actually mentoring Dallas ISD, Kimball High School, and South Oak Cliff. And we'll be actually launching our platform in 2 of those schools with their P-Tech program. So we've been really focusing on that type of key market right now. So it's really been good for us to focus on those schools.
Okay,
the next question is, what inspired you to get into the mixed reality and custom content business?
So what inspired me to get into mixed reality? I was a STEM coordinator for schools and building programs. And what I saw that mixed reality and virtual reality first was because we didn't know anything about mixed reality. We was working on a virtual reality application. It was one of the key parts of STEM. How do you bring that content to the underserved school districts because they would not see this type of technology? And my biggest inspiration was as a kid, I used to use model kits to learn how to speak because I studied every other word. So that was one of the key things. And then learning how to be in STEM, that was my learning style. Hands-on was a part of my lifestyle and how I, grew in education. So becoming a STEM coordinator, becoming a STEM teacher, teaching students with dyslexia that had problems and they thought they had problems, but they fit in when it came to the hands-on learning, right? They really fit, it worked for them. So I saw mixed reality as being a key player in how we get that curriculum and raise student scores in those underserved school districts that don't have the content or don't have the resources to be able to afford a cybersecurity lab that would cost the school district $150,000, and it's out of date in a matter of a half a year. It's already out. All the Cisco routers, switches are all gone. But if you bring that into a mixed reality environment and it's totally hands-on and engaging, and students are doing what they do today, which is gamification, then you can always update that environment. It's always going to grow. It's always going to be new. It's going to be exciting. And now students' learning levels are growing. So the inspiration was the whole part of the technology, not just the technology itself, but how we can put this technology at the granular level, right? When we're talking about today, we said, me and some of my guys in our new mixed reality group that's coming online said, how do we look at this just at that level? What are the usage cases or the people that we can think about outside of the technology? Because we say that the technology is the equalizer to equality. But when you're talking about technology, how do you touch people that you assume they don't want education anymore? And I'm gonna speak to that when I'm talking about a student that's in a hospital that has cancer or has a condition that they cannot be in the classroom at all, right? And we think of those students as saying, how do you educate those students? And engage them in a real world scenario. So now if you have an environment where they can put on a device, be there with the rest of the students and interact and engage with those students, this brings those students a new life, right? So we're talking about lives and lives and education. So now at the granular level, you're really doing something totally different. So this is how we look at the technology, not just at the technology at the level of how it will finance Red House, but how we will change the way education is truly done, and how do we disrupt the regular norm of education. And Corona really makes it relevant that this can happen. And Red House's environments that we're building makes that point come to life.
Tony, I don't mean to put you on a spot, but I was just thinking about all the things you just talked about, and I'm just going back to the original premise, the thesis that you talked about, and you talked about a number of different use cases, right? One
Yes.
very relevant current day use case is the challenges that the kids are having with online learning, and how does this enhanced learning create a very impactful experience so that the kids can actually, in quote, successfully learn a particular topic? Can you actually show it in a way that, I don't mean to put you on a spot, but maybe without having to go through an elaborate setup, do you have it somewhere on a site where you can take a simple example of how that happens? Is it feasible, or is it?
Let me see if I can pull up something real quick so I can kind of show you. Well,
you know what I mean?
You know what? I'll pull up the video that we have from NBC5. Give me 1 second. So I can pull up just the music application from NBC5 that we have, and then that has people can have something to go to.
Because definitely it's a very, very significant problem that we are facing today, from what I understand, in learning having become a big question mark, especially in elementary and middle schools, where that physical interaction is gone.
True.
How can we?
Let me
Yeah.
Tony, I'll give you something to talk about while you're pulling up your
Yeah.
video. I had heard that you used to play special teams for the Houston Oilers. So that sounds like you went from tackling to tech. So can you tell me how your tackling in professional football life, what role it plays in your current role in education technology?
I didn't know about that part of your background, Tony.
Yeah.
I just learned today.
How about that? That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, I always say like this: for being an athlete and a professional athlete and a professional runner, tech is the same thing when it comes to that experience that I had as an athlete. I always tell everybody, and I'm gonna go more to how I used to run track more than playing football. And I always say this on Saturdays as I speak on Saturdays. Being in tech and being a startup is definitely not a sprint. It is definitely a marathon. And if you don't know how to navigate yourself in this space to where you know your ebb and flows, you can learn on the drop of a dime and grow faster, but still slow down. Because if you try to, like I was a hurdler, if you try to hurdle and you try to do it too fast, you're not gonna always hurdle right. If you try to do it a little bit slower, you're gonna get the steps down, but you don't have the speed down. So you really have to study what you're doing and how you're doing it. And it has to be something that really touches you to grow with your company and touches your vision around just not the money, but more of how we change society and how we change our vision. We talk about our driven goal was always equity and equality. And when it comes to me being an athlete, it was always, how could I be better every day? You know, I saw this one thing that a kid said, you know, every minute I can just be better. Just 1 minute, I can be better. So that was the same thing that I would say in, you know, my sons are athletes and they run track, and I coached track for years, and I played special teams years ago, as he talks to that. So it was like, how does that same thing as being an athlete touches when it comes to being in tech? It's going to be constant changes, constant movement. What's special, what works, and how do you navigate that to really work for today's society so that we can have that equity and equality in today's schools? And how do we make them 1 second better or 1 minute better? And that's what we always work to when I was a STEM coordinator and a STEM teacher. It was like, how do I get them to that next level of being in STEM careers when we don't have the resources? And it was never a sprint. It was always a marathon to get there and get them there and let them learn the processes, let them learn all of the steps throughout the concepts. And I mean, I had students that would say, Mr. Scallion, I would probably never be in engineering. And I say, yes, you will. So, because it's how we learn. It's not what you're learning, it's how we learn. And if you're learning it step by step, you'll be better than those who sprint. So that definitely, truly, being in tech, to round it out, is never a sprint. It is a marathon. So here's our video where REDHOUSE shows
and fine arts instruction during the pandemic, but one Frisco-based
technology
startup
solution
is offering another alternative. Deanna Zoga explains why music teachers say all options should be on the table.
This looks like a video game.
The infrared lights here in front are tracking my hand movement.
But Tony Scallion, founder of a Frisco-based startup called REDHOUSE Virtual Education, says it's an opportunity to reach kids learning from home.
We're talking about lives, we're talking about student lives, we're talking about people's families that are being affected rapidly every single day by this virus, so why not now?
Scallion founded the startup 3 years ago with the goal of getting specialized education into underserved districts. But he's finding a new purpose in the pandemic with a program that works even without a headset. Students can use the touch screen of an iPad that some districts provide to learn music.
We're used to that in music. In fact, I think we've always been out on the cutting edge, so to speak, of exploring new technology as a method of delivering instruction.
Robert Floyd, executive director of the Texas Music Educators Association, says all options should be on the table. He explains some districts plan to restrict wind instruments that may ease the spread of respiratory droplets. Others are taking choir practice outside with masks.
Whether it's virtual, whether it's blended, whether it's in a classroom sitting down and playing, we want all of those experiences, to the extent possible, to be as meaningful as possible.
Scallion says virtual lessons won't replace the social experience of the arts, but it offers a way to enhance it and redefine hands-on learning. Deanna Zoga, NBC5.
REDHOUSE says it's working on expanding the program to include guitar, trumpet, drum, and saxophone instruction. It's also building mixed virtual reality programs to teach
So that's the application that we developed for a music company to try to put music in virtual instruments and virtual pianos. And see, I can't play the piano, but inside of classrooms.
So what comes in the way of scaling this? Why don't we see more of this across school districts and so on, especially in these months? Is there anything in particular that is a challenge, a hindrance that comes in the way?
So the challenges that we see are first looking at how we develop the content. So our goal in 2021 is to develop a number of content that people can purchase, right? Our platform solution bridges that content with a learning management system or a online solution where they can actually get all of the content of mixed reality along with a solid learning platform they could build their own content in. So as we build more content, it helps that one challenge. The next challenge is, of course, the device cost. But we are working on ways with partners on how to lower that device cost and treat a HoloLens or a virtual device just like you would treat a cell phone. With the content that's provided by REDHOUSE, it becomes a device as a service. So now you are purchasing a HoloLens or another device like you would purchase a cell phone. And that rapidly drops the cost to where students can now afford the lens and the content in schools and universities. This really rapidly grows how REDHOUSE brings content to schools. We also are building pipelines to schools that we talked about. You know, everybody talks about the different pipelines to prison. We talk about pipelines to education. So how do you create those pipelines to education for students, but you get the universities to be the key players of that content and those solutions that pushes it back down to the underserved school districts? Because now, even with Corona, we have to think about that a student at a lower level is very, very important to a university because of the fact that now we're talking about free education, and we're talking about the cost of education. And we're talking about how we get education to you. So how will they now get education to students so students can grow? But not just that. Think of a student as a number. How do they get the capital to grow their students so they can bring those students to them? Whoever gets the students gets the capital. But now we got to be able to teach those students in the right way. How do we get them virtually? Because they can't come to us anymore. So the environment that we're building in, the ecosystem that we're building in, the content that we're building in mixed reality gets those schools to now build that content to bring the students to them virtually, and the students become stronger, the schools still grow, and they can grow capital for themselves and get the funding they need for the students. So it really helps that bridge between equity and equality when it comes to technology, right? Because now even our lower performing school districts they'll be going after those students to really teach them like they should always teach our students, right? And even now we don't take having a Wi-Fi as a privilege. It is now a necessity. Having a laptop is not a privilege, it's now a necessity. These things are necessities to students. I did a study back in 2019 about equity and equality when we first did the digital divide. And we said that the digital divide is divided, but nobody listened to it at that time because we take those things as privileges. They're not privileges, they're now necessities in education.
Your IP, I think we might have touched on this earlier, is on the platform, on the content both, or but with the exception that the content could be sourced from other places also. Is that correct?
That's correct. The content can be sourced from, the content on the platform can be built by instructors. One of the big announcements that we can make is that we're looking at bringing in instructors to build content for REDHOUSE in 2021. So instructors can now reach out to us, and just like substitute teachers and having a substitute teaching program or a teaching program, they'll be able to build their own content and teach their own students right from Central Vision. That's one big thing that we're doing right at REDHOUSE at our Central Vision platform. That's why we call it Central Vision, because it's content that everybody can learn from. I'm talking about career professionals can build content at Central Vision and teach students teachers that are in the local school districts, from Dallas ISD to Richardson ISD to Plano to any school district, can come to Red House and teach their students right at Central Vision for pretty much free. When it comes to building content, they can build their own content as if they're a part of our content development group. So that site is open to where teachers can teach their students remotely. We have our mixed reality environment that we're building is a part of our new IP that we'll be launching in 2020, and we'll be building content for that environment. Medical content, like I said, first, and then we're looking at cybersecurity and looking at some other school content will be out.
I have one other question, and then I don't want to monopolize the conversation. I want to have others ask questions also. But I'm very curious about what is the appetite of the school districts and even the state in terms of the spend, investment that they're ready to make in this, and what are we talking about for a typical school district to equip their students with the technology?
Well, I think school districts are on the cutting edge right now of trying to get solutions and looking at different solutions, but they're really cautious and understandably so. I mean, as a school administrator, the caution to technology is always the first key thing that you have to look at when it comes to funding. How does this scale in even the school district, right? Is it going to be like an iPad that we purchase and it just sits there and there's no content built for that iPad? So now it just sits in the classroom and there's no growth. So I think caution is, how does this scale for us and how does it grow our students? And is there studies? We did a study with Stanford that shows this grows students, right? Virtual grows students, mixed reality grows students even more. So that's the key thing about the environments that we're building. But now we're building virtual environments, not just environments that you sit in a room or a lab, because that is what dangerous right now until we have a solution that's coming out that's really going to help students not get sick. So they have to be virtual. So Red House is building virtual environments, right? Where students can come in and have simulated technology and work with each other. That's one of the key things that we're doing here in this next year. That's our key focus driven goal. Our platform is at a cutting edge. It's launched in the Microsoft store. So go out and check it out, everybody. That was a shameless plug that I just put in there.
Sure, yeah.
Go look and see what it offers schools. We did a number of usage cases when it comes to charter, private, public, and universities, and we put it in those spots, and we're giving it to some schools here this year so they can test it out, and we're building it for schools, P-TECH programs, and especially some of our own, as we're industry partners, like I said, with South Oak Cliffs and Kimball. We're putting it there and housing it for those students to interact with professionals. We have a number, one of my partners, Marquez White, we had a number of initiatives that we sat back and thought about on how do we really get this and make a difference at Red House.
Question?
Satyajit, go ahead. Go ahead and ask your question, Satyajit. Satyajit?
I can read it for him.
Sure.
He mentioned that you mentioned the Stanford study. So can you provide a link for that study whenever you're?
I can provide the study. I don't have a link to it, but I can provide the study that Stanford did with Red House. Stanford was one of our first companies that partnered with us on how does virtual raise scores in science. So we started working on building a virtual environment. Stanford has a platform that they put out years ago with different curriculum that we were moving over to Red House here this year and integrating mixed reality with that environment. So Dr. Brown has been really, really a supporter of Red House from the start. So we have that study. We can share that study with you guys.
I have a question. Oh, is someone?
No, I was just thanking him. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I have a quick question actually. I came by this blog from Hello Alice, and you talked about building a brand, and you made a statement where it says brands build other brands. So
Right.
can you kind of explain how Red House is trying to build another brand, or if another brand is trying to build Red House?
Yeah. So talking to that, we always say, and we could even talk to what he talked about of football. So if we use the analogy of football, we say, does a quarterback really just navigate, right? Quarterback navigates. He's not the key player of this whole game. He navigates. So you have to put some 300-pound gorillas in front of you, like a Microsoft, like a AT&T, like a Israel, like some of these key players that can help guard you while you navigate as a small business. So one of the first key players that we partnered with, and we partnered with Microsoft, and we're a Microsoft partner. The other key player we partnered with was K-12 Education, was one of the first companies that actually found us on LinkedIn and said, you're the guys that we see as the future. And they put us in all their commercials. Prior to Corona happening, they put us in their commercials. And they was trying to show how mixed reality really would work. And they talked to us about putting us in 60 schools nationwide from the start. So we've had conversations with those schools, and they actually gave us a contract and said they would come back and honor this contract, where as mixed reality became a big player, and K-12 is now changing their name because they want to play in different spaces with HBCUs and universities, not just K-12. So they're actually changing their name. So as a startup, how do you navigate yourself to really grow and scale? You have to have bigger companies that see your vision in order for you to grow and scale. So that's what I was really talking to, and we've tried to do that in a number of ways. We worked with Southern Methodist University on our product. We worked with universities, SMU. We worked with talked to Grambling, Southern Law Center, Meharry, Xavier. So we're surrounding ourselves with big education players in this space that can really validate Red House and grow us because they see the vision of what we're doing.
I think you should add UT Austin to the list. I'm graduating from UT Austin in December.
Definitely do that.
But thank you for answering my question.
Cool.
Others? Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Tony, thank you again. How do you pick what curricula or what part of the curricula is worth doing in MR versus some other media? What guidance do you guys use to say, hey, this is worth investing in and this is better off done somewhere else?
We talked to the fact that we don't, so when I first built a mixed reality application, we built a mathematical application. And we thought that math, and me and one of our directors of mathematics, we thought that math was going to be the key player in mixed reality, but it wasn't, right? Because math is taught in a certain way, and it's taught in so many different forms. So it didn't capture a massive group of people when it comes to building a math mixed reality application. But since it's mixed reality and we're talking about a real world scenario, we look at applications as something that's going to really happen and grow a student, right? We look at like medical. We looked at medical. Medical is going to grow students rapidly in the medical field. Right now, how students, we talk to one of our school districts locally, students can't do clinicals anymore. So they can't go to colleges to do clinicals. So that medical application really stands out. How students are using books for to see 3D content and how that would grow them. Looking at cybersecurity, how that environment can be built inside of a mixed reality environment. So the way we look at applications is how does it grow students towards STEM careers and careers in general. So those applications are definitely a good return on Red House's investment to build that type of simulation for students. So we don't look at just building an application that we know is not going to be something that's going to grow somebody. We look at the careers and the fields that are hot, and students that and how do we grow them, and how do we build things that really make a difference in education.
Thank you. Makes a lot of sense.
Well, it's nice when you don't have that many questions.
Let's see.
So I just want to say I am a Laker fan, but the reason why I put my mask on is my daughter just arrived from Ithaca through Philadelphia on 2 different flights. So I'm going to wear my mask until we have a COVID test tomorrow, and then do it again 4 days later. So I wasn't just trying to promote the LA Lakers.
It's all right.
Okay, I've got a question. Tony, this is Fred. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Fred.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the Xbox work you're doing with Microsoft?
Oh, the gaming environment. So can't say, well, the gaming environment that we're looking at, and Fred, thank you for coming on. And I have to give Fred a lot of credit. We spent a lot of hours together when I first started this journey in Microsoft startup. So definitely appreciate you being on with us today. Fred used to spend every hour after work with me talking about the models and teaching me models and the verbiage of startup. So it's good to have a mentor like that. So thank you, Fred. So we're looking at how mixed reality works in the gaming solution when it comes to Xbox and growing games, and also in the NFL, and also in the, what is it called, Fred? The historical Black NFL Hall of Fame. So how we build the game environment that works to that, and the simulation environment that works inside of mixed reality, how do they combine the two? So we've been definitely talking to Microsoft about on gaming solutions when it comes to mixed reality, having a lot of conversation around that, and seeing what are the tools that we can use, and how do we bridge those gaps between gaming, education, and the Xbox.
Tony, I have one more question. How do you decide what to work on? It sounds like there are so many innovative and cool applications, and everybody's kind of interested in your technology, and there's fun things, and everybody wants a piece of of your time and your company's time and resources. How do you decide what to work on, what to focus on?
Well, one thing I can say is I have a great team that works with me, and we really have focused on how do we put this out? So how we focused on platform, we took pivots early, we focused on different environments early, and I think that how we focus on different things is how do those things make a difference, right? Are they going to be really things that scale and grow students? And we stay right there. And I gotta say, most companies don't get the opportunity to stay right in one space. But me and my partner, Marquez White, we stayed right there even when we were not thinking it would work. We got shot down several times. I mean, we talked to different investors and they know it won't work. This is no good. I don't think this is gonna happen. And as we focused on just staying in education, because that was our driving force, is we know this will work in education. So we wrote a strong roadmap 2 years ago about the whole product line, what we would add to it, and it's working. So the more we know it works, the more we don't move away from it. So we stay with that roadmap. Me and him, we probably studied that roadmap several times, several nights, 3 years in a row, looking at that roadmap, changing it around and saying, this is the roadmap that we're gonna stay with. So we stayed with that roadmap. And it's really been working for us to stay with that roadmap that we wrote a couple of years ago. The product roadmap we wrote 2 years ago has taken us from a LMS with mixed reality solution, with a number of other tools that I'm not mentioning that will be integrated into the product line. We talked to some guys today from Mexico, and they have a product that will integrate into our product line. That's a part of our roadmap that we wrote 2 years ago. So that puts us as a player in Mexico. We have a company in Latin America, and that's why we put ourselves in Brazil, because Brazil is another market that we have actually a director in Latin America that's working with an institute of 200,000 students in Latin America. So, and they have some solutions that we'll be adding to Red House here in the near future. And it works in our roadmap. So mixed reality is a part, and a mixed reality environment works in our roadmap. So this is how we really stay focused in this space, and Corona really has made Red House relevant in this space. Whereas at first it was, you guys won't last a year. And one guy told me, he said, if you can last a year, you'll be the biggest company out there. We're here for 2 years.
So on that note, so Tony, what is the biggest challenge that you might be running into, and what are you doing about that? So if I understand what you're saying in terms of the focus, MR is a big space. So just like AI is, right? I mean, we in my company, we have a bunch of AI products that's all focused on construction, home improvement, that's it. But the world of AI is very big. World of MR is very big. So if I understand you right, you're an MR company with education as a focus. Is that fair? Or is an education company with MR as?
I would say education company as MR as a focus. But okay. What's nice about company as MR as a focus, there's a broad range of education, right? So we're talking education in the government space. So we've been talking to the CIBR director for about a year, and she's really trying to position us in the government space for Air Force when it comes to MR. We've been talking to RU. They're trying to position us in the government space when it comes to MR for education. So again, education is a broad space for Red House to be able to play in, to be a strong player. But the key part about our MR environment is more simulation type of MR environment over just a MR environment. Everybody has a different way of doing it. Our IP is a little bit different than everybody else's, and we're focused on that MR environment. That was one of our key things as a part of our IP, to stay focused on that solution. And we'll be launching that solution this year. I'm happy to say we will definitely be launching that solution this year. So that's what has helped Red House up to this point. It's just how we've driven focus, adding things to our solution that keeps us right there in that space. And I don't think that even for this next year, we'll be moving away from that, doing too much pivoting away from that, because it's a strong space for us right now.
Okay. And remind me, you said you'll be able to send me a term sheet that we can circulate among the charter members here and then engage with you later on, right?
Yes, definitely. Okay. Definitely. And back to what you said, what is one of the biggest challenges for us? And it had been raising capital, getting investors to be interested in what we have, because they didn't think it would work.
Yeah.
And as a managed service provider, Microsoft is really taking a big interest in support with Red House now. We're one of their new not just minority startups, but we just been put into their Blacks for Startup program, where they're focusing on Red House and our solution. And we're getting ready to do co-sell with Microsoft, to where we'll be have over 7,000 salespeople. We're working with TiE, Texas Education Association, here locally in Texas, to where we'll also be there. We're giving them a proposal to broaden out our solution throughout Texas and some of the regions in Texas. So I think that we're at the point to where we're trying to close that gap of raising capital and but I always say it like this: Red House as a team and as a family, we are looking for an investor that fits to us, right? Not just an investor, but somebody that really sees our vision and why we as a company have stayed focused for so long. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody that fits with us. Not just we've raised the capital. I always say it like this: we've been through the battle, the fight. One of our partners is right here online. He could tell you how I closed the deal for them in a matter of weeks, right? And I say my hardest battle was saying that I wasn't a salesperson. But that was me not believing in the product. So as I became more of a salesperson and I started believing in what I could do, because one other person, I won a pitch competition, it was a $1,000 pitch competition. I was the happiest person in the world. And he said, what are you gonna do with the money? I said, it's $1,000. I'm gonna get a couple people to sell it for me. He said, no, sell it yourself first. If you can sell it yourself, and you can make 300 to $500,000, everybody else will sell it for you. So sell it yourself first, do that. My team can tell you I sold it, and we sold it well, to the point to where it'll make a difference.
That's important, that's good. All right. Okay, we are 7 past the hour, ladies and gentlemen. So great session. We had a great interaction, a lot of great questions. I think there is some huge potential here, Tony. Your passion is obviously very visible and comes through strong and clear. Wish you all the best, and we would love to engage with you and support you, collaborate with you in any way we can. Some folks are not on the line today, but we'll be circulating this amongst our membership and see what we can do to maybe connect with you, yeah, and maybe take some tangible steps. And there are some other channels also that we have access to from the TiE organization globally. So I'm going to send this information with your permission to those groups, and I'm pretty sure there will be some interest shown on this initiative.
Thank you very much, Ram. I appreciate Todd Dallas welcoming Red House to present what we're doing here and how we're passionate about what we're doing and how we work to get to this space and how we're planning to help schools nationwide to help them with this problem with the coronavirus and distance learning. Everybody that's on lookout for Red House, growing fast. We love it.
Thank you. If there are no other questions anybody wants to ask, we can wrap it up here, and we'll be in touch with you, Tony, and your team, and let's see where we can take it from here.
Thank you so much, and just want to tell my team thank you for the hard work that we've been putting in for the last month, and we got to keep it going.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Safe Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's yeah. Thanks for reminding. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Safe and healthy.
Stay safe and healthy. Yes.
Safe and healthy, right? And then be thankful.
That's right. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Tony,
Thank you.
it's not a question, but you have a little message from Satyajit. I don't know.
Yeah.
It? Okay.
What is that, Satyajit?
Well, I just said, hey, Tony, I'm really connecting with your mission. Thank you for championing this important mission for schools. Oh. I think it's a very, it's needed in our country. And I think, thank you for stepping up on such an important mission.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. We have a mission to change the way, disrupt education and the way education is taught, and definitely want to be a player in supporting students and how they learn.